That was actually harder than I thought to do with both of my hands. Do you ever come down with both your hands? Like it's hard because my left hand, not dominant hand. Anyways, welcome back to Crossfaded Sports. We appreciate you, boys, girls, and
Appreciate
gays.
you.
All of you, if theys and thems or whatever. I don't know how to say that properly, but you know what I'm saying. We're just trying to be all inclusive here in the Crossfaded Sports at the 989.network. Make sure you Google us, like, comment, and subscribe. As always, Booga has that. Connor the Condor,
And the guy who identifies as a Smurf.
Fanny with the Fanny. We appreciate you all. We won't be seeing you next
Smurf
week on Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever you guys are celebrating. So we appreciate you all tuning in. Have a great vacation. I hope you all don't have to work or do anything. And make sure you're hanging out with your family and your loved ones.
Safe travels.
It's definitely safe travels. Especially with freezing rain and all that kind of stuff. Zach's gonna be out there salting the roads for us tomorrow night. It sounds like he was gonna be doing an all-nighter, and I'm gonna be playing video games. So have fun, Zach. We appreciate you and your civic service that you're getting paid for, but you know what I mean.
A job's a job. Damn.
But guys, we talked about how much fun Zach and I had down at the draft at the Lions and Bills game. It was very similar to the draft. It was a very similar experience. It was a good, wholesome experience. We had so much fun, good vibes, good people.
More bathrooms.
Game. More, yeah, more. They did kind of fix that day too, but man, that was, we don't need, we already went over that. And we were not the only ones to go over that. However, the injuries, guys, the injuries are piling up. And it was already bad enough.
Take my MCL.
Take my jaw. I just put in $3,000 worth of dental work to make sure everything's all right in here.
Alex Anzalone, you need forearm. I got you,
You
bud.
can take that too. I can serve with one arm. I don't care. I can do it. Man, I just, as a Lions fan, as we all are, there is a huge hill in front of us. And I thought maybe, just maybe, personally, with Brian Branch and the way Carlton Davis has been playing and those defensive backs, that they could keep us in this until we could get some of those defensive line guys back, maybe Alex Anzalone back for the playoffs. Losing Carlton Davis and Alim McNeil for the rest of the season. Alim McNeil tore his ACL, obviously done for the year. Carlton Davis has to have surgery on a broken jaw. I didn't get the full report. I don't know if he has any chance of making it back for the end of the season, like a Super Bowl, like an Aiden Hutchinson. I got a quote for that here in just a second. But guys, I don't know how you feel personally, but I don't know how many more hits we can take. Like, and that's just putting so much pressure on the offense.
We can't take any more hits. We've already taken too many.
All I know is our training staff is fired. There's no way that our health director or whatever is going on there, especially after all the money Sheila Hamp has put into our health facilities for the Lion players.
Well, and we have talked about the athletic trainer, like our in-house doctor is actually one of the leading recovery physicians in the country, and we hired him on the staff. But there's only so much.
But he's recovery.
Yeah, there's only so much the recovery
We need
guy
prevention.
can do, the prevention. But I think that's a whole different conversation. But there's been players that have been outcrying. I just seen a bunch of Twitter posts because of we need to bring back real grass.
Yeah.
All these guys in Europe play, football, soccer, football. You know what I'm saying, though? Like they all play on real grass. Even Travis Kelce talked about on the New Heights podcast how he was out there when he was following Taylor Swift in Europe, and he was out there on the pitch or the soccer field to do drills. And he has a trainer with him, so he paid somebody to be able to throw him balls and go through drills while he was out of the United States. And he said he felt bad because He's what, 6'5", 6'6", 250 pounds, and he's trying to run routes. And he said he dug up the field. And they hate that because, typically a soccer player is 5'10", 5'8", 5'6", 160 pounds. They're not digging up the field the way a 330-pound defensive tackle and a
And
6'7",
their cleats.
300-pound, you know what I mean? Left tackle is out there like digging into the grass. And I understand it from a maintenance standpoint, but
And cleats are different.
all the Achilles tears we've seen in the last few years, all the non-contact injuries is really that is the league. We have hydroponic fields all over Michigan. We can grow grass inside a stadium. I promise you, because we grow grass all over the state of Michigan, and it snows here.
Literally, I grow grass for a living. Pay me and I'll come grow. I promise you.
Be the greenest grass you've ever grown on.
But that's a good point. I haven't thought about that. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a medical expert, but that would be a definitely a question for Stefania Bell. Is there something that the Lions trainers could have done to help them? You know what I mean? Or is it even dating back to the fact that we don't have training camp as intense anymore? There's no 2-a-days. Like when we were growing up, we all had to go do 2-a-days to get your body right for the season. And so now they're not pushing their bodies as hard during the training camp in August and July, and then the preseason as hard as they would have. So now we're seeing way more injuries, and especially, nobody wants to see, and no Puka Nakua, no Cooper Cup for the first 8 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
That's not what the NFL wants.
No.
After Puka Nakua's rookie season, they don't want to see that.
Yes, I don't know.
But I don't remember where I seen it. There was the question floating around. Is Dan Campbell pushing the guys too hard too often throughout the season, even in the early season? Because with his mentality,
I could see Dan being the no days off, no, trying to take a break. And, if you are going at it every single week, not taking it easy, going hard to the wall or, balls to the wall, that's going to add up and that's going to cause injury.
I don't know. It's funny that you guys say that, and obviously we don't know exactly what practice is like day in day
and
out.
he was a former player.
He knows what hard works. And like there was a play that I saw an old interview on the Pat McAfee show. I thought it was more recent, so that's why I clicked on it. But it was back in I think it was just after his first season, maybe in the off season, like 1 year after he got hired. And Pat McAfee asked him, what was up with doing Oklahoma drills during the midweek of the season for the Miami Dolphins? And Dan was like quickly to say, no. We didn't do Oklahoma drills. We weren't going like crazy full contact or anything like that. All we did was one-on-ones with individual position groups in front of the team. So, like an left tackle versus a starting defensive end, starting wide receiver versus a cornerback in a quick 1v1 in a 10-foot area. It wasn't like he was out there having linebackers tackle running backs off of the guard and tackle poles in a full contact drill, which I believe is what the Oklahoma drill is. If you guys don't know, you know what I mean? For those of us out there, and that's where you have offensive linemen, usually like 3 to 4 offensive linemen, running back, maybe a fullback, and a couple linebackers, right? In a full contact, full hitting drill in about a 10 to 15 yard spread. And it's about getting through the holes and making your cuts. And that was not what's going on. He had like a linebacker against a running back and a quick like 1v1. No, not saying that they had to have full contact. And that got blown out of proportion when he was with Miami, saying, you know what I mean, like how media does. Now, that being said, to play devil's advocate, maybe we should tone down. But at the same time, bro,
what can you do?
There's so many injuries, and those injuries were being preseason. You know what I mean? And they were just in standard practice. Like Derek Barnes got hurt in the preseason. Alex Anzalone got hurt during a game. Almost all the IR guys got hurt during the game, besides the guys in the preseason. I don't know. I don't think that is a fair argument. You know what I mean? It's a fair criticism.
I just seen it out there. I personally, I'd like to think as a former player coach, I don't know if there's a video out there, but I'm willing to put money on it that Penei Sewell has caught a punt from Jack Fox to get out of conditioning
I
Uh,
love those videos.
so I don't know if there is. But I guarantee you that has happened before. So, as especially as a former player coach, he knows what hypes up a team like that. So I don't think that's a problem, but I've seen those questions floating around out there, and it's real questions to ask with a grit mentality like Dan Campbell. But I think he knows how to properly motivate them all, and I think going forward, these guys that are coming in are slowly going to learn Aaron Glenn's system, and unfortunately, it's going to have to be you know big offensive performances from here on out. There's no denying that. And Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch now are gonna have to really step up, and they're gonna have to, definitely give us some turnovers. They're gonna have to make some big plays for
Gonna have to
us.
start biting some kneecaps back there, like we haven't
So
already before.
Well, and we are gonna get some guys back, but man, and then who just to make sure we lost Khalil Dorsey. He's on IR for the rest of the season with an ankle injury. Carlton Davis, as far as we know, out for the rest of the season with requiring surgery on his jaw, on his broken jaw. Aileen McNeil definitely done with a torn ACL. And then obviously David Montgomery, who is arguably the biggest loss because we need the offense so much. I feel like you could easily argue that Aileen McNeil and Carlton Davis are like the biggest thing for sure, but at least we still had Monty and Gibbs to try and keep the offense healthy. Now Gibbs has to carry the load. And from what I researched today, Montgomery did a coat drive and he showed up to the coat drive last night. And the reporter was the local Fox News reporter. And she was like, "Why are you here?" And he was like, "Well, obviously, like I'm hurt, but people are still cold." And he did the coat drive. And then I heard Dan Campbell's press conference this morning and he said that Monty is not on IR right now because he's looking for a third opinion, even though he knows for sure he has an MCL tear. So there is still a chance, but honestly,
Small,
man,
the little hope.
I don't I would rather him just get healthy, man. Go get the surgery. Don't know. Like we have Monty, we got Sion Vaki, we got Craig Reynolds, who's been in the offense for the full 3 years. He's been here longer than Monty.
Yeah, who do you
Give
think's gonna
them
back up Gibbs?
like don't I don't know. I don't want him to put his don't get wrong. If you guys were in his shoes, what would you do, right?
yeah, he definitely wants, and we've seen it before. He literally stood out there with pads on, did not want to get out of the
Game with a
Yeah.
torn MCL. Like it's definitely torn. We know that. He's just not sure if he needs surgery. Like he wants them to tell him he doesn't need surgery so he can put on a knee brace and play.
Yeah, but I'd rather have him, for another year or two instead.
I would rather have him. I would love to see him. Wouldn't it be crazy to see, like, in this day and age, to see Gibbs and Monty, like Monty retire as a Lion, and Gibbs like finish out the rest of his career because he's a couple years younger, and have them like, wouldn't that be so? That'd be so cool. It just doesn't happen with free agency and day, and you know what I
Oh,
mean.
yeah.
But I would love to see that as a big fan, and I'm a big fan of Monty too.
But to allude to Connor's question, I mean, I really think we'll see an 80% roll, maybe 75, 70, but I'm going high 80% roll out of Gibbs.
Oh, yeah.
And like a small roll out of Vaki as the backup,
The worst
We've
part,
had Craig too much in the receiving game, and
Yeah.
he's been killing it there.
he has been.
And Sloan Baki and Craig Reynolds are all stars on special teams too. So if they end up, let's say it's closer to 60-40 and Sion Vaki and Craig Reynolds are now doing offensive stuff. Now maybe they don't have those clutch tackle. Like Sion Vaki tackled two guys on one play
Mhm.
on the punt
Mhm.
return one
Yeah.
time. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying we don't need them on offense, but they take more reps at offense. Now they're not as explosive on special teams. Maybe they miss a tackle that they would have made.
Well, to kind of add to what I'm saying here is I'm really thinking we're going to start to see the superstar roll out of Gibbs, having to be the main back for us. And then I think with all these injuries, we're going to have to see Vaki step up on defense. He's going to have to play a few snaps back there for us. So he's going to possibly be playing all
That's a good
three.
point.
all three positions
So
for
definitely
us.
more on Craig Reynolds as the backup
Yup.
running back, and Vaki's gonna, and he played both ways in college. I mean,
Yup.
he's no Travis Hunter, but he played safety and running back, and he actually played more running back towards the end of his career. But he was
And
a
we went
awesome
over his
safety.
splits, and like it wasn't bad both ways, you know. So I really think we'll see a few snaps out of him at like a nickel position or just some, you know, something to mix it up from Aaron Glenn, just to use him and any guy that we can at this point.
To give Gibbs some fresh legs, or at least keep him fresh.
Thankfully, at least I'm not gonna say, I just don't want to put too much pressure on Gibbs, but he listening to him in
I
interviews.
do. I have him in fantasy.
Well, that's another thing I was gonna say. I'm so glad I don't play against Gibbs in any of my fantasy playoffs this week,
The only
because
team I have
that
him in, I'm
bastard
not in the
is gonna have
playoffs.
30 plus.
But he is on my dynasty team, but I'm not in the playoffs. But you know what I mean? At least he's semi-fresh. It's not like he's Saquon Barkley, who's had more touches than any player in the league this year, or Derrick Henry, who hasn't had as many touches as Saquon, surprisingly, by like 80 touches, which is nuts.
They've been using Justice Hill for that.
Like
Little out route.
Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones have had so many touches, but Monty and him have been splitting. So I'm not saying he's fresh, but at least he's not. We haven't worn him down.
Yeah.
And he in his own words, he said, "I'm used to being the number one running back. I'm used to taking the most touches. Like I am not afraid of that.
Yeah.
That was what I've done my whole career until I got here. So he's fresh. He's ready to go."
Oh yeah, and I think he's ready. You know, he's ready to fill in the role for David, and definitely not afraid to take over the spot that needs to be filled.
And you know what? And we've talked about it. Sam Laporta has been awfully quiet. I made the joke last year going into like the NFC Championship game that Jamison Williams was our cheat code or like our RPG upgrade that we hadn't started using yet. And last year we had Sam Laporta be breaking all the tight end records that Brock Bowers has now broken.
Yep.
But we haven't been using him because he's been blocking and we just haven't needed him. Now imagine us with Gibbs, Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams on the outside, and we're running spread now. We're not doing the run down the hill. And don't get me wrong, Penei Sewell on the offense line is not going to like doing all that extra pass blocking.
Gibbs still likes to run down the hill.
Laporta one-on-one with a linebacker, because they're so worried about Gibbs receiving and they have to bring a safety down to cover Gibbs. All of a sudden, Laporta has back-to-back 100+ yard receiving games because he's healthy too, and he hasn't had to. He's just been run
Put that on the
blocking.
board. Sam Laporta plus 75 yards,
Next
6
couple weeks.
receptions.
They
Cuddy.
gotta pick up the slack, bro, and we can't give it to Gibbs every play, and we're gonna end up spreading the ball. And dude, and Ben Johnson was doing what? We fucking scored in 2 minutes on the Bills when we needed it. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. We fucking were doing nothing the whole game, and Ben Johnson said we gotta score in 2 minutes. We run down the field in 2 minutes and score a touchdown. Just I don't know. Hey, I'm excited. So let me organize this conversation here. How are you guys feeling considering the injuries to Aiden McNeil and Carlton Davis and David Montgomery, and going into, we'll just start with the Bears game so we can kind of refocus myself here personally. And I'm going to grab a beer here while we're talking.
Well, I'm gonna re-allude though, because with
Rerouting the reroute.
with the injuries we've seen, and then Zadarius Smith being our only healthy piece, but having less than 50% snaps last week. Is that keeping him healthy for the stretch, or is that what's going on there?
Is it a performance issue, or is it keeping them for the long run?
Yeah, so it's kind of adding to it, but
I see us beating the Bears, regardless of the millions amount of people we have out with playing. Caleb Williams just has been on a cold streak, and I see that continuing. Even with this horrible, I mean, not horrible, but put together defense that we have right now, I still see our offense outscoring and just putting up 35, 42 points.
About time to maybe play that Dan Campo clip we got.
And look, I don't, you know, you win 11 in a row, you know, and you lose, and then it's typhoid. I hate to say it, but we're not going to be able to win 11 in a row again for the rest of the season. Just not going to be able to do it. And you know what happens is you get used to eating filet, and I'm talking to all of us. And well, everything's good. You know, if you forgot what it was like when you had nothing and you ate your fucking molded bread, you know, and it was just fine. And he gave you everything you needed. And you got to get punched in the mouth and remember what it used to be like to really appreciate where you are. Well, we'll do that. And so we just taste our mouth. We just picked around the other day. We lost two guys. You know what? It's exactly what we needed. It's exactly what we needed. So we're going to bounce back. We're going to respond. We got guys that are going to about to have an unbelievable opportunity here. And we will play the game any way needed to win. We still got a good offense. We got plenty of defensive players. I can go around them off right now. We're going to put the best 11 on the field. We're going to freaking cut it loose and play with our special teams. And I don't give a crap if we got to win by 1 point for the rest of the year. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to be happy about it. We come out of the game with 50 yards of total offense and we win by 1. You're going to see smiles on my face. If it's the other way defensively, we give up 700 yards and we win by 1 point, you're going to see a fucking smile from my ear to ear. All right? I can promise you. You're going to find a way and we're going to get it done.
Bro, and we were talking about before we started recording, trying our best to not waste all of our good talking before we start recording. And what doesn't that just some of these guys coming off of different practice squads, coming off the streets like Jamal Adams, you know, just that's got to fill your players with confidence. Like knowing that the head coach is like, it doesn't matter that everyone's hurt. It does not matter. And I got to do better. We're going to do better and we're going to fucking win, even if it's by 1 point. Even if we have to never punt the ball, go for 4th down every single time and kick all onside kicks so the defense never has to have the ball. I'm not saying he said that, just saying I'm saying that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Dude, I got goosebumps. You know what I mean? Those guys in the locker room who just got there within the last 2 weeks, they got to feel empowered at least a little bit to just go out there and do their best, run wild.
Oh, it just shows you like his mentality of never giving up. It doesn't matter to him what's going to happen. And he said it from the beginning. His very first interview talking about biting kneecaps, getting back up, biting more does not matter. And he has not changed once. So it really helps boost that confidence coming into this final stretch of the season, you know, especially with as I kind of personally feel the number 1 seed is kind of very important to try to lock up right now. Getting that home field advantage throughout playoffs is extremely important, and having these games in Detroit with our fans, you know, I would hate to kind of travel to Philadelphia right now. I hate to say it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way that we'd have to travel to the Rams, but that would be like a Lions. You know what I mean? It's the way LA's stadium is. I'm not so worried about that home field advantage, but right now, the two teams I don't want to play are the Eagles and the Rams. And I don't want to play the fucking Packers again either because there's a huge history. I don't know what the numbers are, but the division opponents that play 3 times end up playing in the playoffs. If the team that's won twice plays them in the playoffs, they usually lose because it's so hard to play a division opponent 3. You know what I mean? So like, could we get like the Redskins, please, somehow in the first round of the playoffs, and then everybody else beat each other or something?
Well, no, we want that first round bye.
Yeah, that's what we really
Oh
want.
no, that's what I'm saying. So like the Redskins beat the Eagles, and then they come and play us in the second round after the bye. You know what
Nice.
I mean?
I'll take that. I'll take
We'll
that.
take that.
If they take that.
But so that it's just a big confidence boost going into this final, especially going through Chicago, who's kind of pissed off at us after that last game. And even though it's their own damn fault, but and then going to San Francisco for kind of a revenge game. And it's kind of the same crap as last year. I mean, they're a lot more banged up too, but we were going in there with a pretty banged up defense last year. And I mean, it's a lot worse now too for us, but It's still going to be a nice little revenge game, especially for Dan Campbell there.
I think we're taking that W.
Yeah, the Bears game I think is the biggest trap game because we're so hurt and we're hoping that'll be one of the easier W's in our last. Obviously, we had as far as fantasy football is
That's-
concerned, I'm not sure if it was the hardest schedule in the NFL versus like ranked opponents or whatever, but we had one of the hardest fantasy football schedules based upon our last few opponents based on their defenses and stuff. So I'm mostly scared of the game at the Bears, not because of the weather or the cold or anything, but because like we kind of need and expect that win. And that's where you get trapped, right? When everyone gets a little bit too, especially because that's our weakest opponent. And then if we lose that game,
Then you get into a funk.
yeah, and we don't want that. But I think what Dan and we talked about it, like if we were going to lose to anybody in the last 4 weeks, we would rather be the Bills against a quality opponent and take a little shot and then get readjusted and re-ready for the playoffs. So hopefully, and we believe in Dan, we believe in Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson. We feel like they're going to get the boys right for this game against Chicago. And then going into the 49ers, like you guys said, that's a little bit of it's not the same thing as we thought it would be, though.
No, definitely not.
But it's still revenge.
Still,
It's still going to be something to fire up Dan Campbell going back there.
And technically, I think the 49ers aren't mathematically eliminated out of the playoffs. So if we beat them, that'll be all Dan has.
I think they need a long shot, though.
Yeah.
you need to win out and
Us and then everybody else to like lose, you know what I mean? So if we beat them, that's all Dan has to say. Listen, remember last year how they took us out of the Super Bowl? If we beat them, they're fucking done.
Yeah.
Like that's enough, especially for like there's gonna be so many players out there. Can you imagine like Aylin McNeil who was there last year and everybody else like, bro, you need to go out there and play your ass off because I'm fucking it hurt for the season. Like we need to beat them.
And then
We could have been in the Super Bowl last year. You in the Super Bowl this year, you need to destroy the 49ers. Like
we should have been in the Super Bowl last year.
and then we'll have the battle for the number 1 seed in the NFC
And I'm scared for that.
against the Vikings, and that's going to be a shootout.
Yes, it will be.
what was it? The oh my god, I have the statistic somewhere. The Philadelphia Eagles had the ball in the fourth quarter in their last game for 15 minutes. And their opposing opponent only had the ball for like 5 minutes and 30 seconds and only had 2 possessions. And that's why they lost the game.
Jesus.
And so that's what we need to do to the Minnesota Vikings. We need to hold the fucking ball for a 10-minute drive somehow and just keep Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison off of the goddamn field.
Your math didn't math, but it's all right.
It's 30 minutes, so 15 and change versus
I thought you said the fourth quarter.
no, second half. So
He definitely said fourth quarter.
did I say fourth quarter?
I'm like,
My
he
bad.
started off with 15 minutes. I'm like, okay,
Sorry,
so then the
boy,
other team
boy,
had
like-
0 time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Second half, it was like a 25-minute and change to a 4 minutes, or it was maybe
Damn.
24 minutes and change to 5 minutes and change. So they had the ball for like a crazy amount of time. It was just ridiculous.
Damn.
And that's what the Lions need to do.
That's our only hope right there.
Defense off the field as best we can. And if you can hold the ball for that long, then it helps the defense a lot when we're hurting. Well, so what do you guys think? We gonna Connor? What do you think? Last 3 games, we got the Bears,
Win,
49ers, and the Vikings.
loss.
Ooh. I think we went out. I'm going with it. We're winning out.
I hope we do.
I think that we are going to lose 1 out of the next 3 games. I don't know which one it's going to be. I'm really scared that it's going to be the Bears game.
We're locking up the number 1 in the NFC.
If we only lose 1 more game, we're still in a 70 some odd percentile chance of getting the number 1 seed and a first round bye. Beating the Vikings 1-1, I think, is going to be the huge proponent to that. Even if we lose once to the Bears or once to the 49ers, it won't be too bad. But I think that we're gonna drop one more game.
Mm-mm.
18 players on IR. 18.
We're gonna,
18. You know how many players are on a team? 53.
yeah, we're still rostering 53.
Ridiculous.
But in Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, we trust. Brad Holmes, holy shit, bro. We love you because you're probably the only person in the league that can bring in 18 different guys to fit into Aaron Glenn's defense in the middle of the
In the
season,
middle of the
multiple
fucking
times at
season.
different weeks, intervals, and somehow put out a defense that is able to compete on an NFL.
I know he's probably like, all right, enough getting hurt. Like I gotta do homework every damn night to figure out who I'm gonna pick up or who I'm
I
gonna.
feel like when we saw him in Hard Knocks a few years ago, his beard wasn't as gray, but bro, that should be gray as fuck.
Well, now you know, yeah, you know why.
There's no way the coaches all know these guys' names.
Fuck no.
Spot. What's your name again? Oh, Potter? Fucking Christ. No, your name's 95. Get into the fucking lineup. All right. Well, we wish everybody good luck here going into their fantasy football finals, semifinals, and championships. Please, prayers and hopes alive if you're a Detroit Lions fan that we don't face any more serious injuries and we get some of these guys back like Alex Anzalone and some of these guys that were, I would love to see him out there with the club. It'll just give us a huge boost, some grit and some play calls. And as always, make sure you all like, comment, and subscribe to us across Faded Sports. You can search us on Google for all of your Detroit Lions sports podcasting needs. We got Buckethead Zach, Connor the Condor, Fanny with the Fanny. And as always, everybody love everybody.
Yoli.